Okay. Uh, I've titled tonight's presentation, The Abundance of Creation. And it's something that's quite near and dear to me. And it's been a part of my life for quite a long time. And I was inspired to do this presentation. Um, and I hope you'll enjoy it. I'll continue now. I would like to make this presentation tonight, which is inspired in a small way by a few videos and podcasts I've watched in recent months, but mostly my thoughts and insights based on my life experience, as well as quotes from Might of the Thoughts and Goblet of the Truth, which I felt were relevant to the presentation to bring it into a seamless whole. It's a patchwork to be sure, but one I hope will inspire you all to create abundance in your own lives. Now, this could be a short presentation. It depends. I won't read too fast, but I wanted to leave some room at the end, especially because I have a feeling that this will generate a lot of conversation and dialogue. So we'll see what happens. Some quotes from the creational teachings from Might of the Thoughts, page 18. The human being is always and in every moment master of his, her own situation. And indeed, even when he, she suffers affliction and misery, or when he, she feels weak, ill, and abandoned. Through the might of the thoughts, each human being determines his, her own state. Indeed, as a rule, via the psyche, which is formed by the might of the thoughts in a negative or rather neutral positive equalized way. If the human being forms his or her thoughts in a neutral positive equalized way, then he, she is raised by their might into unimagined heights and is rewarded with love, harmony, and joy of living, as well as with success and so forth. But if the human being allows himself, herself to fall, and if his, her thoughts become negative and unequalized, then that human being is assailed by weakness, failure, sorrow, disharmony, and abasement, fear of life, and reluctance regarding life. Thus, in any case, the human being is always the master of his, her directly existing state, called forth and formed by the might of his, her thoughts, because as the human being thinks, so he, she feels and acts, and his, her state and condition forms accordingly. Goblet of the Truth, page 15. For the wellspring given, creation given, life, and the appearance, nature, with all its life forms, the inner world of the firmaments, universal consciousness, allotted that thankfulness shall be nurtured for this in love, peace, freedom, consonance, harmony, and truth. Thankfulness shall prevail for the differentiation between right and unright, as well as between truth and untruth, so that everyone may be led rightly. Goblet of the Truth, page 503. Consider through your free decision and your free will, you can achieve anything you want, both in the good and in the evil. Therefore, always act in fairness according to the sense of the truth, because everything will always happen to you in a way that corresponds to your own will, your thoughts and feelings, and your responsibility form, which you then call destiny. Goblet of the Truth, page 553. Miracles come about through you yourselves. be it through an energy and its power that you yourselves have created in you, or by means of another kind and wise. And because it occurs through an unusually quick happening, which manifests itself through your hopes and wishes or begging and beseeching, so you are astonished, find it wonderful, and simply call it a miracle. And if you create a miracle, then you create it through your own energy and power, which you in any kind and wise concentratedly bring to use. And thereby, it is also possible that the occurring miracle goes beyond your present consciousness evolution. The reason for this is that you have unconsciously created and mobilized energies and powers in you over which you have no control in your normal consciousness state. Of the Truth, page 555. And also know that every miracle is an absolutely normal and natural process, which, however, comes about in high speed and solely through concentrated energy and power. Miracles can sometimes also take longer before they occur, because fundamentally their kind is always of importance. But miracles correspond in each case always to a natural developmental process of cause and effect, because never, ever can something unnatural happen, as this is in each case absolutely impossible. The laws of nature cannot be bent or falsified because they are based on the creation given laws and recommendations, which are at all times unchangeable through the creation universal consciousness, contrary to your human sense and human view. The true meaning of abundance and its function in our reality. What is abundance? Is it money?
Excuse me, David.
Excuse me?
Yeah, because we are in the definition of miracle, so maybe you can explain before you move on to the abundance, because
Oh,
this is a
okay.
very
Fine,
important,
fine.
yeah, very important topic. I think some of the listeners, they might ask some questions about miracle definition from the religion and the miracle from
Oh,
the
yeah,
Goblet of the
definitely.
Truth. Yeah,
Well,
because
thanks
this is a
thanks
very
for
interesting.
interrupting. Thanks for interrupting me,
Yeah,
because I would have just
welcome,
carried on.
Okay,
I
okay.
forgot to mention that at the beginning. If you just raise your hand or stop me there. So is there anything that we need to go over as far as these quotes from the Goblet of the Truth?
Maybe could we go
Yes,
up to the
yes,
top
please.
again?
Yes,
Ex-
please. There was mention about the effects are not necessarily coming instantaneously. Uh, it takes some time, uh, and it has relationship with cause and effect. If that is so, if it is hinged on the cause and effect, how does the might of thought get into the picture? Thank you.
Richie, would you care to chime in on that?
Yeah, I'll try to link it with the Arahat Atarthata about the boomerang effect, the thoughts, because from what I understand, if some of you guys have the Arahat Atarthata book, there are some pages there that explains about the boomerang effect. Sometimes, I don't know for what reason or what's the category. Some of the effects, it says there, it will take some time. Some of the effect is very instantaneous, like it's instant. So for some reason, what's the difference between the ones that taking longer and the other one it's taking more quickly? It's not very elaborately explained, or it's either I did not understand properly what is the explanation. So Maybe it has to do with the energies that you are putting into the thoughts. The more you are thinking about it, the more you are putting effort into it, I think the greater chance the manifestation will occur. And also, if it is very, what you call this one, let's say the goals or the wish is, I think it's comparable to like moving a mountain. So you really have to work it hard and it will take some time for the effect to occur. But maybe if it is a simple wish or simple hope or aspiration, maybe it comes in instant. So that's how I understand the workings of the boomerang effect. But maybe others have some information who would like to share their thoughts about it, because I'm still digging into it. What's the real reason why the effects varied from different angle? Like it's coming instantaneous and sometimes it takes longer. So that's my side on that. Thank you.
I've got a little bit that I might offer, that I had an insight about this a while back, and the reason it seems that some things take longer to manifest and some things are instantaneous has a lot to do with, number one, the energy, number two, the might of the thoughts, and number three, the alignment within the nature of the elements that need to be brought together in order for that happening to occur. Does that make any sense? Because it's like, sometimes it's like you can go down the aisle of a grocery store and walk right to the item you need and it's there. But other times you have to go around. It's there, but you have to go around and you have to search and you have to go through some effort to put it all together before you find exactly what you're looking for. And to me, that's how, it's sort of like this. To me, it's like the difference between immediate goals and long-term goals. Is it something that you need desperately in the moment? Or is it something that you will need farther out in the future? Is it something that you can organize the power of the might of your thoughts to bring into fruition immediately? Or is it something where you're going to have to put this element and this element, sort of like a puzzle, putting puzzle pieces together in order to manifest what you need? Does that sound like it has anything to do with the
It
long and
helps me a
short?
lot, David, to understand what you have just said happened to me. And I believe it would be nice to put it in depth, in material, or in something solid. In my case, I've been suffering from sciatica. I've had medical attentions for it before, but whatever was given as a treatment, or as a whatever they want to call it, uh, were not totally conclusive or effective. And the fact that I had the concerns of a long airplane flight, I thought of looking for alternatives. And what occurred to me was acupuncture.
Mhm.
I, I, I told myself, if I am to suffer during the long flight, it will be very inconvenient. So I decided to see an acupuncturist. And true to form, my intention is there for it to not bother me. As a matter of fact, for it to give me immediate alleviations of whatever I have been suffering from. And the first session alone already gave me so much uh, to to be thankful for, as I saw the difference or the improvement that I was hoping for. So 2 points. One is that I wanted it to happen. Two, I did something to make it happen. Three, I really wanted it to happen. Uh, all those ingredients were not probably present in the former attempts to put it in order. My simple thoughts of may it be may I be well soon did not work. Uh, Probably because there are lacking ingredients. Thank you, David. It gave me a better perspective. There are things that has to happen before things can happen. I mean, before effects can be had. So one thing is in addition to wanting to have the cure, is to look for whatever cure can be possible in addition to your wanting to have the cure. Thank you.
So, so June, did it actually work? Did the acupuncture work?
It did. It did. I successfully endured a 24-hour airplane flight.
Excellent, excellent. Well, now you
Yes.
see, a lot of folks would mark that off to the placebo effect, but I would rather than call it the placebo effect, I would like to call it the might of the thoughts effect. Because truly, that's what it is. Because when they say they gave you a placebo, they didn't give you anything. What was it that made it work? The might of the thoughts. So you see the power that we have is, and this is what I was talking about. That is one of the main ingredients in manifesting abundance and manifesting change in our lives is the might of our thoughts. And in addition, paying close attention to our environment to watch for keys and signposts along the way that will guide us where we need to be, those kinds of things. But that's a perfect example, June, a perfect example how might of the thoughts can work as a catalyst to bring us what we truly need. That was a good one. Thanks for sharing that one.
Did you also experience one yourself, David?
What's that?
Yeah, so-called the might of the thoughts miracles in action.
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely have, and that's one of the reasons I said that I was so excited about presenting this tonight, because further down in the presentation, I actually relate a few instances, and it gets juicy. I guarantee you. So have we any more questions or thoughts about miracles and
Yeah, I want to hear from the others if anyone else in this group have something to share. That would be fun to know. Oh well, I guess I could share my own story. It's it may sound trivial to some, but then anyway, this meant a lot to me. Okay, this is how.
There's no such thing as trivial when it comes to miracles.
well, Okay, well, that,
Every
because
miracle, every miracle
I,
is magic. It's not trivial.
I think what this brings to mind for me personally is how each and every one of us are interconnected. You know, remember there's that story of someone praying to be saved from like a flood, and then, I guess, I guess creation, or I guess their concept of God, they're praying to be saved from this or that, and then people were sent and all these things, and then the person still said no because they would, I guess, expected something to come from the sky or whatever. Anyway, and then so they and then later on, I guess he realized that things were sent along the way. Anyway, that's just a segue to my experience. I really wanted to see the group BTS because I really love their music because they got me through when I had to go through, how they call this, like a breast cancer scare. But in my case, I've been actually rather fortunate that because they've always found it at the stage 0. So, anyway, make a long story short. So I wanted to see this group, and then so when we asked for what the tickets cost, my goodness, they're about as much as like like our mortgage. I said, oh my gosh, she said, I can't get that sort of stuff. And this was even before I was retired. So anyway, long story short, it but I really wanted to see them. And then next thing you know, my ex-girlfriend calls me because she lives in Vegas. And then I was really so touched because she got both for me and my wife, because she met also my wife Daki. And so she bought tickets for us. Not only that, she bought even the hotel where we were staying, and plus another show. So we stayed at the very like a fancy suite that she got for us for the whole weekend. So all we needed to do was drive down to Vegas from San Francisco. I mean, from our area. So I ended up watching them actually their very last show in Vegas before they ended up getting some were called to the military. So anyway, that's my own. That was such a fun experience and very unforgettable because it was really like a gift. And then I was just really very touched that my girlfriend would do that. I mean, yeah. So that was one, and there are also other ways that I know how powerful our thoughts were, about healing oneself and all that stuff. So I just wanted to share something fun, but it was really unforgettable.
Well, that's not exactly trivial. That sounds like a major feat there.
I
Um,
know, I know.
I had something a little bit similar happen to me, on a much smaller scale one time though. I had asked a girl out, and we were going to go to a jazz show. We were going to go see Pharoah Sanders, and both of us liked him. And at any rate, I was short on cash. I had enough for the tickets for the show, but I really wanted to. I was really hoping that I could somehow get enough money to have dinner after the show, but it just didn't work out. I said, well, at least I got, I was grateful that I had the money for the show. So we're on our way to get there, and as we're pulling into the parking lot, a couple is pulling out of the parking lot right next to us, and the guy rolls his window down and he says, "Hey, buddy, could you use a couple of free tickets to the show?" Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I could. So I wound up that we got to go see the show, and we wound up having dinner to boot. So those things do work. It works out.
okay, I just want to give a comment. If the cureness happened and we're talking about it's not a miracle, it's only just a might of thought. So there's no really such a word miracle, then Is that what we are saying? We want to bring it out that there's no miracle itself. If the cureness is happening because it's just a might of thought.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those antique words, you know, brought about through religion and whatnot. But it's based on a misunderstanding of the mechanics of what we call miracles, which there's no such thing, because everything that happens in creation has an explanation. It has a cause. There's a cause and effect in play. And a lot of times those things happen out of the blue. I mean, I've seen things. I used to travel to India and stuff, and I'd seen, you know, these God men and whatnot perform what you would call a miracle and stuff, but it wasn't. A lot of times it was sleight of hand, and other times it was actually their personal energy being involved in it, but it was explainable. It wasn't a miracle, and it wasn't a mystery to anybody who knew what was going on and was watching what was happening. But yeah, the word miracle is another one of those leftovers, like angels and demons and God and all of it. You know?
I would like to
Yeah.
add on also. I would like to add on that also. In the religious community, they attribute the miracles to the supernatural. So
Yeah.
this doesn't explain anything. It's like magic that something happens, you're cured instantly. While in the Goblet of Truth, the miracle is explained in such a way that it uses these fine fluidal energies. It is mobilizing these fine fluidal energies and influencing the material things. And it says that from all these levels of power, the highest power are the fine spiritual energies, because they can influence matter, the coarse matter, and in such a way that they will have a effect that it appears that it's defying physics, but actually it's not defying physics. It's actually a different form of energy that it's influencing the material form. However, our science is unable yet to determine how these energies are behaving. But if you are looking in the lens of the religious people, they cannot explain it, so they will say it's supernatural and it is done by God, by angel, or some by demonic effect. But in reality, it can be explained. So in the Goblet of Truth, they just put it as, in my own understanding, they put this word miracle to to explain the fine fluidal energies that are influencing the matter, the coarse matter that we are living. So that's my say on this.
Yeah. That goes along with this quote here from page
What about
555.
those people who is on a dying situation, and then they are being sentenced that they are dead, then all of the sudden later on they're awake or something, like back to life? Isn't it that a miracle?
Are you talking
What?
about people who were declared clinically dead, or
Yeah. And then a few hours or something like that. I remember I read some story like that situation, sentenced dead, and then after hours and thingy get back into life. So how the science
I
would
think
decide
I
it.
think Billy dealt with that subject in the fluidal energy book. He talked about these so-called coming back from the dead and whatnot, and for the most part, it's because of the observers who were around the so-called dead person assumed they were actually dead when they weren't, when there still was signs of life in in the body, but they weren't aware of it.
And another thing, it will depend on the environment. One scenario I have looked into it is like this child. He drowned in the lake, but this lake is like having some ice, frozen, something like that, but has water in it. And then, by the rules of medical science, if your brain is deprived longer than five minutes, certain parts of the brain will die, and it will be irreversible. So the longer your brain is deprived of oxygen, the more likely you will be dead. So this child, I think it's like 5 years old, he fell somewhere in the lake with some ice in it. Rescuers were there, and then it's like more than 15 minutes. They're trying to search for the body. Eventually, when they retrieve the body, they try to revive the child by some quote and unquote. They said by a miracle, uh, the kid survived without any brain injury or damage. So upon observation, they said in hypothesis, the coldness of the water might have prevented the deterioration of the brain, because when you submerge the body in icy water, all metabolic action will be slowed down to almost zero. So everything slows down, the heartbeat slows down, so all the metabolism is slowed down. So the oxygen demand of the body is also slowing down. So the 15 minutes, it's not anymore applicable to the 5 minutes, because those 5 minutes the medical science are talking about, it's in the environment where the body is not submerged in icy water. It's in the room temperature. So if it is in the room temperature, 5 minutes, more than 5 minutes, the brain will die. But in such cases, if this body is in icy water submerged, and the temperature is going to zero or going down, it most likely preserved the brain function. So when they revived the child, there was no any brain damage or any neurological defect that was found within that boy. But from other perspective, for the ordinary people, the lay people, they consider it like a miracle. That's it. That's my say.
Yeah, totally explainable
I,
by
re-
natural means.
I remember having read some words from Billy saying that for you to be able to definitely say that a person has died is that there is really no more brain activity. For as long as there is brain activity, the person is not yet dead. But because the accuracy of testing this is yet beyond our capacity, the science, has no capacity as yet. Many are said to have died, but in effect are not yet really dead. And if matters will lead to such recovery, they say he came from the dead. How can a person be coming from the dead if he is really dead? He can only come, he can only recover because he has not died yet. Because the moment he is dead, he can no longer recover because he's dead already. Uh, unless reincarnation sets in another time and another place. So in effect, if there were recoveries, the only logical thing to think about is that
Okay,
the
June, are
person
you
is
still
not
there?
yet dead.
No.
How's that? How's that?
I
Can,
think
can,
I thought we lost you. I thought we lost you.
uh, I was saying the last few words is that if the person is really dead, there is no reason to say that he can be brought back to life immediately after. Uh, and yan, very controversial. Thank you.
One more
Well,
thing. One more
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
I'm trying to read the meaning of the miracles. It says here, a surprising and welcome event that is not explicable by natural or scientific law and is therefore considered to be the work of a divine agency. So I'm just thinking, like, if there's no such words because of it's just a might of thought or some influential fluidal thingy that is work around there, we have a words miracle. Then how come that there's a words miracle? Why, and why did I make that kind of definitions that it comes from the divine thingy? So something
Well, that
happened way before, that's why they called it miracle. I just want to define why we become have a words miracles if we cannot really mention anything that's happening. It's really a miracle if we cannot accept that there's something miracles happening around the world or the universe or whatever.
I'll try to answer it at this, or it's like the word spirit during in the biblical times, because people in those days, they don't know about anything about creation energy or deeper meaning about science about this atomic behaviors or anything about this flow of energy. So one thing the prophets or the truth bringers, they use the word that can be easily be explained to the people, because they know after such time the course of evolution, they will discover this energy. So for the benefit that the people can just have an idea, they use this word as spirit, and then such things as word as miracle, like some word like divine, something like that, spells, like dark magic, something like that, because people's on those days, they haven't understand what are the mechanisms that are functioning, and the words are not yet evolved to define such things. However, as we progress through the ages, uh, through the observation in the nature, so some people are understanding what are those mechanisms that are behaving. So some of the words now, they are using uh, energies like this that are behaving in such a way. But the only problem is the religion, because it's still influencing our time. They can't let go. They can't let go the word miracle. They still use the word some form of divine intervention. But if you go to the science, usually they discredit these things, because from them, the unknown things is yet to be discovered. So until they are what you call this one, until they don't know what is this unknown, so some of these scientific communities, just for the sake that they will pacify the community, they will say maybe it's a miracle, maybe it's a divine intervention, we don't know. But until then, it's still unknown. So that's the safe ground the scientific community are trying to communicate with the religious people, so that they won't have any conflict. So maybe in the distant future, this miracle will be worked out by earth human, and they will finally find the answer that it's not miracle per se, like a divine magic that is happening, but a form of energy working that is uh, a very different behavior than the material ones that they are observing. That's all.
In short, you want to
In
say
support of that,
the words miracle in the future will gonna be obsolete. That's what you,
Yeah,
that's what you want to
I think
bring
so.
out.
probably you will be able to make your own conclusion when I tell you this statement. I tried to ask Billy, and he answered me how come there are words like Holy, Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, Holy Bible, Holy whatever? The simple answer I received was that they are all inventions. Meaning at that time that those words are being used, there's got to be words to hang on to be able to make things understandable, irrespective of how deficient it is during that time. But in the same way you're saying there might come a time that the word miracle will no longer be applicable, in the same way as Billy is saying spirit is not really perfect word to use when you're talking of the creation energy. So there might come a time later when many students of building materials will realize that there is really there is no uh, to use the word spirit is not accurate. Then everybody will be using the word creational energy. It goes the same way with miracle, goes the same way with Holy Bible, Holy Spirit, everything, divine and intervention and everything. In time when everybody become more knowledgeable, then they will be relegated to the bins of history.
Thank you. Sorry, David, to interrupt your presentation. We may proceed.
No,
I don't
No,
have a
no,
question
no,
anymore.
that's what it's
actually, it's
all
good.
about. This is supposed to inspire dialogue. It's supposed to inspire thoughts. And when these things come up, all the better. That's
Honestly,
what
the first part of your presentations, the miracle thingy, it's good thing that Richie tried to interrupt us, because I said earlier, like the pages that you get it from Mott and God, it's really good.
Mhm.
It's really nice to discuss and talk, that we're expecting you to explain everything. But it's good thing
Oh,
that
I'm
we talk
sorry.
about it right
I'm,
now.
I get going and I'm just thinking about going through the presentation. And that's why I always say, if somebody has questions or comments or something, just raise your hand and, or get my attention, and I'd be glad to stop, because that's what this is all about. We're supposed to be having a dialogue here. This is supposed to be inspiring thoughts and questions. And that's how we all learn. That's how
Thank you.
how we use this to evolve. So there's no big deal. It's just a natural process. So, let's, I guess we'll move along now. The true meaning of abundance and its function in our reality. What is abundance? Is it money, cars, beautiful things? Is it fame and recognition? What do you really want? And most importantly, why do you want those things? Why? Take a brief moment to think about it. Is it what you want? Is what you want what you really need? Abundance is power. Power over bad circumstances and limitations, power over inflictions and hardship, and power to have what you need on time. But sadly and unfortunately, most humans believe that abundance and the only road to paradise is money. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm expressing here. I'm not saying that we don't need money either. Currency is the substantial transfer of energy between human capacities and abilities. Plus, we need money to pay our bills, right? Most of us know that we can't buy real love with money, don't we? But do we make the mistake of believing that we can solve all challenges with it? Or sadly, that we are majorly limited by it? Note that a lot of individuals won't take action over an objective because of their lack of money, disregarding or underestimating their ability to create by using immediate resources. So I'm implying this to you. Never feel helpless without money. A tree in the wilderness doesn't require money to grow, it requires energy. Events like rain, wind, and sunlight are in synchronicity to make that happen. We are approaching the gateway to abundance when we understand that out of nothing, we can create anything. Even though our economic system is based on lack and the elimination of that lack through the accumulation of wealth, the true nature of creation has nothing to do with lack, the accumulation of wealth, or any material limitations. Creation is, by its very existence, abundance without limitation. Creation creates all created things from an idea out of nothing. So as a piece of creation, we, by extension, are capable of similar actions. The only thing stopping us is our own inability to understand our true essence and make it our reality. Now, let me offer a few guidelines for manifesting abundance in our lives. Number one, know the difference between wants and needs. Example, you need to go to work, but you want to go to the beach. In all likelihood, what will happen? You need to go to work to make a living and pay your bills, but going to the beach, which you want to do, will not achieve the same results as working. So you'll probably go to work. Unless, of course, you're a slacker and don't care about the former, in which case you'll have a nice day at the beach and may wind up having trouble paying your bills at the end of the month. Quoting the lyrics of an old Rolling Stones song, you might not always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you'll get what you need. Number two, don't attach definitions or values to your direct needs. Example, by attaching a value, positive or negative, or by attaching a definition, good or bad, to your needs, you set up a vibratory blockage to the natural flow of energy, which is in balance at all times. Maintaining a neutral, positive outlook clears the way for the creative energy to fulfill your needs. Number three, avoid writing your own script for the way you expect the creational play to work out. In other words, don't place expectations on the way the abundance will manifest one way or the other. Maintain positive neutrality at all times. Example. For this example, I'll tell you all a little anecdotal story that I heard many years ago. There was once a professional musician who played for a major symphony orchestra. Every day on his way to work, he liked to listen to classical symphonic music on the radio for relaxation and inspiration. Unfortunately, the radio in his car was of poor quality, and being the discerning musician that he was, he felt he needed a new stereo radio of high quality to deliver the sound he desired. He went to the auto shop and found just the right stereo, but it was out of his reach financially. So he settled on the next best stereo, realizing that although it wasn't the best, it was by far better than the one he had. He had it installed on the spot and began enjoying the improved sound quality. Unfortunately, the very next day, someone jimmied his door lock, and broke into his car and stole his new stereo, and in the process damaged his dash panel. Now, he was a man who went by the principle that everything happens for a reason. So he calmly filed a police report and an insurance claim for the stereo and the damage to the dash panel. He waited patiently, and about a week later, he received a check in the mail for the claim. He went to the auto repair shop to get the dash panel repaired. And when the technician looked at it, he said, "Oh, this is an easy fix. I can do it free of charge." Grateful and happy about this turn of events, he proceeded to the audio shop to replace his stereo. When he arrived, he realized that the amount he saved on the free repair and the amount he received for the stolen stereo amounted to just a bit more than the price of the best stereo that he wanted in the first place. So you see, when we don't place any expectations on how our abundance will manifest, it often turns out much better than we could have ever expected. Always remember, creation is abundance, but it doesn't take orders. It will provide in its own time and in its own way. Now, to give you an example from my own life history, before I retired, I had to work very hard to make a living. For 22 years, I worked 2 jobs, and believe it or not, sometimes 3, to even come close to a decent standard of living. Here's the important thing. I seriously never complained about how hard I had to work or what it took away from my social and family life. Sure, I had my grumpy, whiny days, but eventually I always looked at my circumstances, considering my limited education and talents, as a great opportunity to make something out of nothing, so to speak. Gratitude for my situation was always foremost in my mind. Sure, I was sometimes discouraged. Sometimes I felt like giving up. But I always kept gratitude, no matter how difficult it was to feel at the time. My primary objective. I did, after all, have a roof over my head, clothes on my back, food in my belly, and a way to get around, and my bills were paid. Now here is where the maintaining an attitude of gratitude comes into play. I was in a particularly low spot in my life, where even though I was getting by, I could never get ahead. Paycheck to paycheck, week to week, with no respite in sight. But I never gave up hope and gratitude for my life, no matter how difficult. One day, out of the blue, I get a letter in the mail from an old employer that I'd worked for several years earlier. The letter stated that they held a profit-sharing escrow account in my name, which I honestly had long forgotten about. So much for paying attention to your surroundings. They stated that they needed to clear their books of old accounts and would need to cut me a check for $10,000. A miracle? Of course not, although it seemed like it at the time. Actually, quite to the contrary. They would have eventually contacted me regardless of my positive or negative frame of mind. However, this is an example of how unexpected changes can come into our lives at the most opportune moments when we need it most, and how maintaining an attitude of gratitude will keep us afloat even in the roughest seas of life until a manifestation of abundance arrives. Needless to say, that rescue put me back on my feet on dry land and was the seed that I needed to plant a better future. I used the money wisely and conservatively, and through some small investments, it helped me to get ahead in ways I never could have imagined. It was truly life-changing at the time. That springboard set me on a course that helped me prepare for my future retirement. The good life I'm living after retirement is a whole story in itself. But suffice to say, I wouldn't be where I am today if it hadn't have been for making gratitude and the law of abundance part of my everyday life. Again, abundance is power. power over limitations and circumstances, even if the limitation is caused by the fact that you don't have enough money. That power will lead you to the required amount by bringing into your life events needed to secure it. In synchronicity and complicity of faith. Abundance is also proportional to your personal distinctive assets and how you establish them. For example, express talents, faith, love, passion, resilience, discipline, action, and discipline above all, and patience, anticipation, and so on. So I'm telling you by experience that the door or the gateway to abundance is gratitude. With gratitude, you can appreciate any details of your existence over and over freely. Gratitude and excitement of seeing your desired events already accomplished is the power inside you. The rest will follow if you stay faithful to your vision of the outcome without placing your own self-limiting ideas on it, even if it requires massive amounts of money. Gratitude indicates stopping complaining about almost everything immediately. Of course, ingrained habits are hard to break. And if you happen to be a habitual complainer, it will take some time. It also needs to be fed with new and better observations constantly. The more you replace the ingrained habits with new and positive actions, the more they will begin to fade into the background. So no matter what circumstances you're stuck in, no matter if it's financial limitations, relationship limitations, whatever, gratitude will give you the first turn of events and lead you to a better one. Gratitude will govern your observation in a positive vibration. So be grateful for what you have, even if it's only a little, even if you feel that you are at the bottom of the bottom. Be grateful that you are a small part piece of creation, living the experience of you in the matrix of all created things. What a rare and wonderful opportunity. If you truly think about it, you are already in possession of the most valuable asset in creation, your human incarnation. Gratitude will make you even more affluent than an ungrateful being that owns almost everything in the world. With gratitude and a sense of abundance, greed fades away. You won't panic, even if there is less in a stiff curve. Instead, you'll ask for more in faith and assurance. Gratitude will help you with all the resources needed to be in a better place physically and psychically. No matter what you need, you will feel abundant and lucky. Those feelings will raise you so high that events will start to show evidence in your life as if it were magic. And remember, your feeling is your scope, your compass. It's where you are heading. So gratitude is the doorway to abundance, and abundance is the outcome of resources like faith, love, and hope. The rest will be given on top of that. Take time to ponder on this. You're a king of kings and a queen of queens in your inner world. You're the only one in your imagination who has the power to manifest your reality unless you surrender that power to someone or something outside yourself. When you change your inner world, you change your outer world. Ask for peace and gratitude in your heart, and abundance will start to manifest in your life. It's a law like gravity. Release everything that's holding you back by clearing all negative thoughts from your consciousness. Think, what are you grateful for right now? What are your immediate resources? What are your talents, your abilities? Do you have faith in a positive outcome in your future, or do you doubt yourself? Or are you a prisoner of fear? What is the simplest action you can take towards your goals? Now, it is important to induce your subconscious mind existing within you and other dimensions beside your physical body, where your true power resides. Imagine what you want in your reality with a feeling of accomplishment and gratitude, as if it's already done and achieved. Feel it in the present moment with every detail. Give thanks and gratitude for those things you already have, no matter how small they seem. It will open the gateway to your abundance. Feel gratitude for events that came to save you from other ones, even if they were very difficult or painful to deal with. Because at the end of your current incarnation, in spite of any turmoil you may have experienced, everything will be in perfect harmony and balance with creation. Ask with faith and abundance, in the abundance of creation, and you shall receive by constant observation and neutral expectance. Observe it in your reality as if it were already there, and you will be amazed, because with startling synchronicity, you will start to feel it real and accomplished. Always remember that creation is abundance, and as a piece of creation, you are also. Give back gratitude, crowned with excitement, because you will have accomplished something you once thought impossible. Those who carry silent gratitude towards life are living in alignment with the power of creation. And that's a quote from Akeem Wolf to round things out. And that is the end of the presentation. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
Yes.
Very nice presentation, David.
Thank you.
I know, I want to appreciate that.
Excellent.
Nice. But the thing is, no matter how good are all those words, the first thing come out to my mind is it's easy to say, but it's really hard to do it. It's really
Exactly.
nice to
And
hear.
that's what's holding you back.
Definitely,
That's
it's
what's holding
really
you
hard
back.
to work on it.
The way we think about these things is, this is what I'm saying. It's if we place definitions, it's difficult. It's a lot harder to do than it is to say. If we place those definitions on our reality, it's going to be that. Creation is going to give you what you are creating in your mind as a reality. If you place a definition like it's a lot, I knew that was going to be one of the comments at the end, because that's one of the thoughts that comes into my mind every now and then, and I have to just kick it right out, because that is my old pattern of thinking.
But if
Before
you
I
are
started
really a poor kind of person, especially those people in the Philippines, that they really want to strive and they really try to be, what do you call this one, to reach their goal, but they are poor. How can they really like do such things that we are thinking positively? We can just keep thinking and thinking, but nothing, because you're out of resources, because you're so poor. That's always the reason those people are saying to me, like, how can we? We don't even have a money to be as a first investment or whatever that we can do, no matter what we need to do. That's the reason, okay? Not mine. I'm just relying it.
Yeah, and it's a valid reason, but it's also an excuse because here's a good example. I sometimes I watch little inspirational podcasts and things like that. And there was this guy from he was from someplace in Western Africa because he was living near the ocean. And it was a man, his wife, and two children. And they had a piece of land. Now, that was their only resource, was this piece of land. Now, they had nothing else. They he and his wife tried to switch off and bring in a little income every now and then to do things, but they basically just had this piece of land. But they didn't give up hope. They didn't give up their feeling of gratitude because they had the land at least. And it was a good fertile piece of land, and it was near the ocean. And this is a real story about a real guy. And so they didn't have a house. So they lived in this sort of little shacky lean-to made out of palm leaves and stuff like that. And they cooked over an open fire, and basically, you know, and they would go out and forage, and he would you know, go out and hunt and go to the ocean and try to catch fish and whatnot. And it was tough. It was really tough, but slowly they managed to build a house. They built it all themselves out of natural materials that were available on the land. They didn't have to buy anything. They built the whole house out of mud and stones and things that they found on the land eventually. And it was just a little tiny house. It just was, but it was a permanent house. And over time, through help from their neighbors, they accumulated some seeds, things of that nature. And in many parts of Africa, it's all about community. It's all, you're never alone. If you're in a village or you're living near other people, you're never alone because everybody looks out for everybody else. So eventually, over time, they managed to start getting vegetable garden together. They managed to start growing their own food, and everything that they ate came fresh out of the garden or off the land. And so, but they were very poor. They were very poor. But this man had the most optimistic and grateful attitude, the happiest countenance. He almost every time he talked, he started laughing because he was so happy, because he had everything he needed. Did he have everything he wanted? No, sure. It would be nice to have a big house. It would be nice to have a car. It would be nice to even have a bicycle. But he had what he needed to keep him and his family alive and safe and out of the weather. And for him, that was a major accomplishment. So sometimes when we say people are very poor, and they don't have what they need, it all comes down to that need and want thing. Do you consider yourself poor because you don't have a big house? Do you consider yourself poor because you don't make a lot of money? Or are you really poor? Do you struggle every day to have a meal? Do you struggle every day to keep a roof over your head? You know, a lot of times people mistake poverty for not having what they want, not having what they need. And I relate. I can relate to what you're talking about, Zor. There's a lot of people living in my village right here.
Well,
Not a
if
lot.
only people know how to satisfy, that's the thing. If people know how to satisfy, even they accomplish just little by little or little things that they have, probably we could meet what we are saying abundance, because I remember my mom and dad told me when there are poor before, way back before, just to have a little TV, it's a black and white. They are really happy. They feel like they are rich man, something like that.
There-
So fulfillment is in there. Abundance, they feel the abundance. So what I'm saying is if all people are just like happy to whatever they have and not thinking too much of what they are right really trying to um project to their mind, abundance, we can call it abundance already. You know what I mean? Just satisfied, not really
Well,
achieving
that's
a
the
lot.
thing about being grateful for what we have, even though it might be something very small, even though we might not have much. If we're grateful for that, we start to eliminate those limiting thoughts of lack. We start to eliminate those thoughts of of the thoughts that keep us in this sort of mental prison of an idea of poverty and an idea of not having enough. Those things can be really self-limiting. And a lot of times we find ourselves, and I have done this myself, I've found myself concentrating on so much on what I didn't have that I didn't realize that what I had was way more valuable than what I wanted, you know? And I started to be able to look at what I had as abundance. And then it freed me up and it put me in a frame of mind where I stopped placing limitations on myself. Through gratitude, I was able to open up to more possibilities, I guess is all I can say about that. It just opened me up to it helped me to open my vision, to pay attention to what was going on around me and the opportunities that were available that I wouldn't have noticed had I just been focused on my lack of something. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
get it.
may I cross cross examine, if I may? The word abundance paints a picture that you have more than what you need. It paints a picture that because you have more than what you need, you don't give so much value to all those that you have around. So the abundance that you see will turn out to be a waste at the end because you don't put value to it. The best example that I can think of is time. When I was a young student, a high school student, I had to go on a morning class. And the place we come from is about an hour away from the school. So I had to prepare early so I could reach the school on time. And then going home would require the same time. But it came to a point that I was saying it's too too demanding to wake up this time and then uh, spend unnecessary travel time. When it came to a point that I had to work, even if I was still studying, and I happened to be working in order that I happened to work all the while that I was studying, or better yet, I was studying at the same time I was working. And time was so, what do you call this? I don't have that much luxury of time. to the point that even your sleep will have to be interrupted drastically, so you can recover from that. In effect, there is no abundance of time. You lack it. You lack time to do all the things that you want to do, and therefore you feel deprived. You don't have much to talk about. You don't have it. But when it came to a point that I have the luxury of time, when I was no longer studying, I was doing certain things and this thing and this thing, I did not give not that much importance to time. So the abundance of time at the time is no longer relevant. So you're saying, David, earlier that it is a matter of mental set. The way you look at things, the way you give value to things will provide the value that you needed to give to something that you do not really have much, like time. Thank you.
No, June, you made me think of something that you might be able to relate to this, and it relates to your talking about working and studying and lack of time and whatnot. Uh, like I said before, I worked 2 jobs for 22 years, and time was golden to me. Literally, it was one of the most valuable things that I could think of, because I had so little time to myself and had so little time to do the things I wanted to do, not that I needed to do, that I wanted to do. For a while, I was miserable. But then I got to a point where I started to realize, like I've mentioned in this presentation, that it was very important to differentiate between what I wanted and what I needed. Because what I wanted was making me very unhappy. It was making me feel like I wasn't abundant. It was making me feel like I didn't have what I should have. And when I started making a difference, drawing a line between what I needed and what I wanted, I realized that what I wanted was sort of like discretionary. It was things that, yeah, it would be nice, but is it really necessary? Is it necessary for your survival? Is it necessary for your general peace of mind? And what I realized is that I had plenty of time, but I didn't have a lot of time for what I wanted to do. Now, was I going to let that make me unhappy? For a while I did, but then I realized that I had to make some major adjustments in here as to what, what would make me happy. And I started putting more value into the free time I had, which was very little, but I put immense amounts of value into that time. I made that as valuable to me as having a lot of time. So when I had a day off, I only had 1 full day off a week. And then I had 2 half days, which was really, that was not fun. But my only full day I had off, I tell you what, that was golden. It was like, and I used it I would go out in nature. I would take myself out to dinner. I would go to movies. I would go for long walks. Sometimes I would do nothing. I just hang around the house in my bunny slippers and read, you know, but it was something that I wanted to do and it made me feel good. So making those adjustments between needs and wants all of a sudden made it possible for me to work 2 jobs for 22 years and actually not lose my mind. I did have some dicey moments, especially when it was revolved around family and spending time with my family, which sometimes made it very difficult. But over time, they realized that this is something I had to do. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I needed to do it to stay alive and have a decent, comfortable life. So I don't know if that's something that brings a little bit of light to what you were talking about or not. But it's just something you made me think of that when you said you had very little time. And then when you had a lot of time, you appreciated it more. Now that I'm retired, I've got all the time. That time is all I have. So now I have to find ways to appreciate that. I sometimes find myself just wanting to just lay around, not do much of anything, which I guess is okay since I don't have a job to do, but I got plenty of things to keep me busy. But, you know, I still appreciate my time. I still do.
Okay, any more thought? It's
No,
45, 35.
I guess no, I guess I wanted to share. I think what's important is that we dismantle any belief systems of limitations, you know, for ourselves, because that's really what will hinder you. First of all, you know, is yourself, because you are putting how do you call this, handcuffs on your mind's ability to I guess expand. And you know, right now I'm in the introduction to meditation, and then a part of that is, you know, Billy says that we should already put frame our whatever it is that we desire or need, you know, or want it in the it is so, as if it's already there, you know, form. And then, you know, being neutral positive will bring that about, uh and like the energy of, because I think what our thoughts are actually the key to the physics of reality. And I think a lot of the findings that they have now, like especially when it relates to quantum physics, because you're trying to understand actually energy at this point, you know, how, and what we are actually is energy. We are energy only condensed in this material form, in this incarnation. And so if we are a part piece of creation, we do have it within us to expand to the heights actually of creation, and the only limitations really are ourselves. So if we are able to conquer ourselves, especially our thoughts, then that will make us masters of our own universe, you know, in our own little words. So that I know, you know, it's important to bear in mind. And you know, our mind is really like a garden, so you have to be aware of what's in it, you know. Get rid of those weeds that can strangle the fruits of your labor, that can hinder you from doing something that's useful and productive in your life. But you know, you were talking here that about somewhere in your article, you were saying something about, I guess, don't limit it, don't tell, almost saying like don't tell creation what to do or something like that. But I just wanted to share something. there's so many, I guess, of these things that are inexplicable, but I know the mechanics behind it, and I wanted to share one more important thing, and in my own life, and that's why I really treasure these group discussions, because then we could also share, what's actually happened in our lives, lived experience, and that is so precious, and so that it could trigger thoughts amongst all of us. It'll make you think, oh yeah, that makes me remember something here and there. Okay, coming back to my story. When Becky and I, years ago, because she used to live in Virginia and I was here, and then we ended up being together. We were still living in an apartment at that time, because we had just split up from our female partners at the time and wanted to be together. And then I guess she had sold her house in Virginia, and then invested with her brother. I think they bought a house in Burlingame, and her money was tied up there. And so anyway, we were really short and stuff. I was working still as a nurse, and then my best friend Cheryl Gusakuma, who I'm gonna go with in September for her 80th birthday celebration. That's why we're going to Switzerland this fall. It was her 60th birthday, and I wanted to get a special card for her. I already had a present. I wanted to give it, but I wanted a special card. And since she liked cats, and so do I wanted to get a particular card with a cat in it. But I wanted one to keep for myself, and one to give to her. And so we were at Stanford Shopping Center with Daki. We had our car, and then I told her, oh, I need to get a card for Cheryl for her birthday, because we're both invited and we were going to go down to Southern California. And then so I said, oh, there's a papyrus. Let's go I want to get a card with a pussycat in it and stuff like that. And then my wife, Becky, she said, oh, sorry, honey. She said, I don't think we could afford, to buy a card. So you were talking like maybe $5, right? Oh, but instead of feeling bad or saying, I said, oh, okay. I said, because I'm a Hallmark addict, I must confess, and I love cards and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I said, I'll just find something there, and I'm sure I'll come up with something. Well, so we were just walking around enjoying the flowers there, because it's a beautiful shopping area. And then on our way back, she handed me an envelope from Papyrus. And then also I said, oh, what's this? I said, where did you get that? And then you know where it was? For some reason, and it up to this day, someone had left an envelope with exactly 2 cards, identical, exactly as I was thinking of. And she was the one who picked it up on her side, the driver's seat. And then, and in it, so to this day, I even kept that receipt to let you know, this is one of many of the so-called miracles that's happening in my life. But that's, so, see how do you explain that? And I said, were we talking too loudly? Did someone overhear us? Did someone follow us and stuff like that? And how would they know even where our car was? And we didn't see anybody around us, that's another thing that I wanted to share, that's why I'm not worried, like whether it's finding a parking space or stuff like that. You could try that. That's what you need to do, because it's like a muscle. You have to keep actually experiencing it in your day-to-day life to know the power of your thoughts. So that's just another example I want to share. Another one I wanted to share also, my brother, because this is with the house that, it caused actually rift when they sold the house that we had in the Philippines, in White Plains anyway. So while my brother, mind you, is very religious, he's a Roman Catholic and stuff like that. And grew up private boys schools in LaSalle, and they so very religious. Anyway, his girlfriend. So they were there, and he was at the point where he wasn't sure what to do because when he talked to my dad wanted it was like the dream wish of my parents to purchase back the house where we had all our memories, our vacation home in Baguio. And he said, okay. And my dad said, once we had the means, you put the money in there and then give the rest to your brothers and sisters, but have something like a homestead for us to keep the family together in the Philippines. Long story short, people, there were half of the family were, I guess, more or less wanting their own money, greed, whatever. And my brother wanted to get a sign, I guess, for him on what he should do. And when he asked for the sign, there was something that happened in the house. We had like an aviary, didn't have any birds in it, I guess, because when my aunt died, the birds died or something happened. Suddenly there was a bird, a dove that appeared in there, and they couldn't figure out how it even got there because there was a lock. So it's how it was inexplainable. And my brother even thought his girlfriend bought a bird. So he said, "Why will you buy a bird when this house is gonna get sold and this and that?" Or what? But then couldn't explain how that bird even got there. But that was another thing that my things like that out of the blue that can happen that you don't have any explanation for how it can be. So I just wanted to share with you this world is full of wondrous things. So it's really great that we're all alive. We can learn all this stuff from Billy so that we could actually experience it in our own lives and feel all these truths that he's talking about, the teachings. Yeah.
Thanks, Cynthia. That's the thing that a lot of us, we tend to overlook the small manifestations of abundance in our lives. And those are the little building blocks that often lead to greater things. When we acknowledge those small manifestations and we have gratitude for them, it literally does open up the channels for greater things to happen, and I mean, everyone would like to win the lottery, but a lot of times because we don't win the lottery, we think we failed when we don't realize that there are a lot of other smaller things that happen all the time that are successes as well. There's an interesting thing that happened to me this morning when I was walking on my exercise. I was for some reason I was just filled with this overwhelming feeling of gratitude for being alive, being 74 years old and being able to get out at 4 o'clock in the morning and walk 3-4 miles, and not be sore, and be able to just, and it was a beautiful morning. Wasn't daylight yet, the stars were out, and it was quiet, and I just had this overwhelming feeling of gratitude, and it almost brought me to tears. And as I came around the corner of the there's a ring road that goes around the reservoir where I walk. As I came around the corner, I look under the street light, and here's a 20-baht note laying on the street. It's never happened in the years that I've been there walking. I've never found money. But I know you can say, well, it's just a coincidence. But I looked at it as a little calling card from creation, a little calling card from the universe that, yeah, you do have a reason to be grateful. you know? Here's a little surprise for you. And when I picked that up, and I just had so much more gratitude, you know? Even though it was only a 20 baht note, it's only worth about 30 cents US. But it's just the fact that it was there, it was just like a little sign to me that, you know, being grateful really does pay off. That sounds kind of
Well,
corny.
no,
But-
I think you have a point right there, because actually Samyasi said that we actually create our luck. And I know that with my wife, you know, we're lucky when we play in the casinos, you know. When we do go, it's just, you know, it's amazing. So, and like for example, the last time we spent I guess Christmas in the Philippines was in 2010. And then well, first of all, the reason why Daki, my wife, wanted to come and be with me was that, you know, in high school we knew each other. And anyway, long story short, when I started talking about my involvement with Figo and stuff, like, so she was fascinated about UFO. So she said that's one thing she'd like to be able to see is a UFO. I said, and then I just kidded her. I said, well, maybe if you hang around with me, who knows, you might see. And indeed, she saw like about 3 times, like, and 2 of them like in the Philippines. And anyway, and I was even able to record that it happened New Year's Eve 2011, and that was the last time we spent you know, New Year's Eve at that house in Manila that was sold. Anyway, what was I about to say? Yeah, that, yeah, it's really important to have that frame of mind. And it's true that you do create your own luck just by feeling grateful about things that you have, you know. There, even the things that aren't physical or material. Actually, when you have peace and love and harmony and all those good things, and if you always also align yourself with the truth, you'll go places, you know. And you'll be able to gain higher ground and see greater things, experience greater things.
The words wishful thinking comes to my mind, and also the idiom, be careful what you wish for, because there really is that power behind all this.
Yeah.
Whether you do it with good intentions or otherwise, there is that power that comes from behind those words. Thank you guys for this opportunity. I learned a lot from you people.
Yep, it's always worth it getting up early in the morning. So you know, this is like one of my number one most exciting of the groups that I'm in. So I'm really grateful that June got me in here, and I'm able to know all of you more. And it really makes me really happy, and I'm also learning so much from all of you too.
We only have 9 more minutes, 8 more minutes. Any
8
thoughts?
more minutes.
Yeah, final words, Jean.
I just sent in our chat box. It's a YouTube. It's about gratitude. It's a good video, but I want to dissect that 10 minutes video, but I think we don't have time for. So for everybody's benefit, if you have time, you can check in Malayang Mag-aaral. I post a YouTube clip about that. It's called Antidote for Dissatisfaction. It's a nice video with animation about how they explain the mechanism of gratitude and how it brings humanity together. It's nice video
Can
clip.
you
Just
send it to the core also? Because I don't have,
to the
I'm not
core,
in the Malaya. Yeah,
Malaya,
I'm not
in the
in.
core. Okay, no worries.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll send.
Yeah, well, I wanted to, those of you who are passive members, ask for permission from Christian Frenner to be part of the US online interesting group, because over there there's articles, one in particular called "If a Human Being Wants to Be Happy and Satisfied." Such a treasure trove of information there that you'll be privy to, because there's a certain section that's in there that is only like for passive members, but it's something that you could also get into, I guess, on your own. But then as a passive member, then they'll allow you to get into the archives that has all this translation and stuff. And so that's one thing. Another one, those of you that might be interested in there are presentations from the Arizona group. In fact, they're meeting this this August, and I think Michael Voigtlander is already in the US and will be attending that, and they'll have presentations and stuff. But I'm those of you who are interested in getting like a Zoom, because it's by invitation, and you have to contact me in the Malayang Mag-aral, and I'll I'll give you the link so that you could ask Nathaniel Mallow or Liliana, for so that you could be reminded and be given invitation, because it's you have to RSVP, for that invitation. Those that are interested, because it's open to like Canadians, and also, so I think Philippines, you can also get in there too. So very interesting presentation. In fact, there was a presentation on religion versus religion, which I think was very important. That was presented by Alexander McCraig, something like that. Because I was gonna, I'll check with Helen to see whether he could also give the presentation and see if he's willing to do it. But I took some notes and I could share if he's too busy and stuff. But a very interesting guy that'll also be there, because he has his own like a radio show and stuff like that, and he seems to know quite a bit about the Meyer material. So that impressed me, and I think it's important to know the difference between religion and religion, and he really did some really good research in it, and that was in the Arizona presentation that occurs on the last Saturday. It's only like about an hour. So those that are interested in getting invitations to that particular Zoom meeting on the last Saturday of the month, contact me in Malayan, and I'll hook you up so that you can listen to it. It's really cool. Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Final words, David, Jaycon, Roel, so we could depart.
I'd just like to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to present this information, and I hope that in some small way it may have inspired you to think about abundance in your lives, and also your place in the cosmos, and knowing the power of creation is within you, and being able to utilize that.
Okay, thank you too. That's a good presentations. Try to watch Richie's Send. It's really nice. Jaycon and Roel, any parting words? Just even say thank you. Bunso,
So
nada de nada. Okay then. So I think this is it, 6:58. Thank you very much. Until next time, David.
Yeah,
Bye.
don't forget Peace Salome
Thank you,
today.
David,
Global
Salome.
peace.
Good
Good
night,
everyone.
Good night.
Good night,
Good
Yeah,
night.
that's
David.
Thank
right.
you.
Salome.
Okay, take care.
Salome.
See you
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay.
See you
Yeah.
See you
tomorrow.
tomorrow,
David,
man.
what
Bye-bye.
time is it in there right now to your place?
Talking to me?
What time is it in your place right now?
It's 8:58 p.m.
Oh, okay then. So it's a good thing that we're going to break it now.
Yeah, I'm usually in bed by 7 p.m.
All
almost every
right
night.
then.
I get
Good
up at
time.
3 in the morning to go for a walk. So
Thanks for your sacrifice. Okay, bye-bye, guys, and everybody.
Bye
pleasure.
bye. Thank you, Zor, for being our host, and also Lawrence for even setting us up. Thank you, Lawrence. Must be
Thank you.
doing.
Salome, everyone.
Okay, Salome,
Salome.
Salome. Bye bye.